What happens when one of rock's most iconic voices, armed with a working-class attitude and a fiery temper, collides with some of the biggest names in music? From bitter rivalries with glam icons to heartbreaking betrayals by his closest friends. Rod Stewart's story is as much about passion, loyalty, and pride as it is about chart-topping hits. Welcome back to Rock Fame Diaries, the channel where we dive deep into the untold stories of rock legends. Today, we're uncovering 6 musicians who clashed with Rod Stewart and how those rivalries reveal the raw, uncompromising heart of this gravel-voiced superstar. Number 1. Ronnie Wood. Brothers torn apart. Before we jump into outside rivals, we need to start with Rod's most personal wound. His bandmate, best mate, and brother-in-arms, Ronnie Wood. In the early 1970s, the Faces weren't just a band. They were a rowdy brotherhood, famous for whiskey-soaked gigs and pure rock energy. But behind the laughter, cracks were forming. Ronnie Wood, the guitarist Rod trusted most, began secretly playing with the Rolling Stones. For Rod, this wasn't just career politics, it was betrayal. He later admitted it felt like losing family. "We built this thing from scratch, and then he walked away without looking back," he told close friends. When Ronnie officially joined the Stones in 1975, it effectively ended the Faces and forced Rod into a solo career he wasn't fully ready for. It was a lesson Rod would carry forever. In rock and roll, loyalty is a fragile thing. Number 2. Robert Plant. The Battle of Rock's Greatest Voices. If Wood's betrayal was personal, Rod's rivalry with Robert Plant was professional, but just as heated. Both men were hailed as defining voices of the 1970s. Plant with his mystical, soaring wails in Led Zeppelin, and Rod with his soulful, raspy powerhouse delivery. But Rod thought Plant's style was, well, over the top. According to insiders, Rod dismissed Plant as a fantasy novelist screaming about Vikings, while he himself was channeling blues and soul in a way he believed was more authentic. What cut deep for Rod was how critics placed Zeppelin on a higher pedestal, treating them as serious artists, while viewing Stewart as more pop-oriented. The clash came to a head in polls for greatest rock vocalist. Plant would often top the list, with Rod just behind. At an industry event in 1975, witnesses say Rod avoided Plant entirely, muttering, "I don't mingle with people who need mythology books to write love songs." Number 3. David Bowie. The Chameleon versus the Straight Shooter. If there was ever a cultural clash, it was between Rod Stewart and David Bowie. Rod was rooted in authenticity, raw vocals, pub beginnings, and a no-nonsense attitude. Bowie was the opposite, a shape-shifting icon who reinvented himself with every album. While fans adored Bowie's personas, Rod saw them as artificial. He changes outfits more often than he changes chords. Rod once joked at a London pub. He believed Bowie's shows were more about spectacle than music, calling them art galleries disguised as rock concerts. The two also competed for attention during the glam rock explosion. And while Bowie's Ziggy Stardust won critical acclaim, Rod's more grounded approach made him sneer at what he saw as fashion over feeling. At one recording studio encounter, Rod reportedly jabbed, "At least I know who I am when I wake up every morning." Number 4. Freddie Mercury and Queen. Who owned the stage? If Rod had one strength, it was connecting with audiences through charisma. But when Queen exploded with Freddie Mercury's flamboyant stagecraft, Rod felt threatened. Rod accused Mercury of hiding behind smoke machines, costumes, and spectacle. "Great performers don't need fireworks to connect," he allegedly said in a Cream magazine interview in the mid-70s. But Queen's growing dominance proved Rod wrong in the public eye. At festivals, audiences would chant Mercury's anthems louder than Rod's. And when he watched Queen's elaborate rehearsals backstage, Stewart mocked them, "All that gear just to play a rock song."
Would ever happen to plugging in and letting it rip.
The rivalry wasn't just about style. It was about philosophy. Freddie believed in larger-than-life theater. Rod believed in barroom intimacy, and neither backed down. Number 5. Bryan Ferry and Roxy Music, blue-collar soul versus high art rock. Rod's distaste for Bryan Ferry wasn't rooted in theatrics, it was class.
Ferry came from a middle-class background and led Roxy Music, a band adored by critics for its sophisticated art rock. Rod, a son of working-class London, bristled at this academic approach.
He allegedly told friends Ferry was a posh boy playing dress-up, and dismissed Roxy's music as dinner party background for people who think being clever makes them cool.
The biggest insult. Critics adored Roxy Music while often mocking Rod's more straightforward rock. To Stewart, this was proof the industry cared more about complexity than soul. Music should touch ordinary people, not impress professors, he said in a 1975 interview. Backstage in Paris, Ferry once tried small talk with Stewart. Rod reportedly muttered, "I don't chat with people who think rock needs footnotes."
Number 6. Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, swagger versus authenticity.
Finally, we come to the rivalry that may have cut the deepest into Rod's pride, Mick Jagger. Both men were symbols of British rock swagger, but Rod thought Jagger's was fake. A drama student pretending to be a street tough, he once sneered. Stewart believed the Stones' dangerous image was carefully manufactured, while his own came from living rough and hustling through pubs. "Real rebels don't need publicists," Rod told Melody Maker in 1971. And at a London club, he confronted Jagger directly, declaring, "At least my swagger comes from real life, not method acting." The irony. When Ronnie Wood left the Faces, it was Jagger's Stones he joined, twisting the knife even deeper into Rod's pride. Rod Stewart wasn't just a singer. He was a fighter, a man whose pride and passion often put him at odds with fellow legends. But whether clashing with Bowie's reinventions, Mercury's theatrics, or Jagger's swagger, Rod never compromised who he was. A working-class kid who believed rock should be raw, real, and relatable. And maybe that's why his music still resonates. Because behind the feuds, behind the fire, was a man who stood fiercely by his principles, even if it cost him friends. And that's the fiery tale of Rod Stewart's biggest rivalries. What do you think? Was Rod defending rock's true spirit, or was he just too stubborn for his own good? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of rock legends. This is Rock Fame Diaries, where rock's greatest stories live on. God bless.